Good morning, friends. I myself, Dr. Chandrasekhar Bangarwar, Professor, SRM State Ayurvedic College, Bareilly, welcomes you all of you in this lecture. We are studying about the examination of the nervous system, and we have seen that there are three types of functions carried in a nervous system. Number one, sensory functions. Number two, motor functions. And number three, integrative functions. These integrative functions are also called as associative functions or higher functions. You have to check the patient, examine the patient for the higher functions in nervous system and how we can do it. Today, let us see it. We should remember that examination of central nervous system is complex procedure in which attention is to be given to all components. Higher functions, examination of cranial nerves. You are aware that there are 12 pairs of the cranial nerves. They have got the functions, sensory functions as well as the motor functions. You have to check the functions. Then sensory system, motor system, reflexes, which are checked with the help of clinical hammer. You have to see the spinal cord or spine also. Spine is also an important part of the nervous system that should be checked. Now, examination of higher functions is mainly based upon a proper history taking and systematic questionnaires. Here you should ask the patients few questions and observe how he answered your questions. When you ask patient's name, you can note down whether he remember his name or he is aware. Awareness of the function is also to be tested. If you ask age, then you will note whether the patient is aware about his age or not. There are thousands of patients from the rural area or old age peoples do not remember their age. Just they say that my age is 60, 65, around about 70. That means these peoples are not aware about the exact how much is their age. Then address the relatives with him who brings you in the clinic and what is the relation between you and that person. Here, through such a questions, you are observing, checking whether the patient is aware or not. Then you have to check the handedness of the patient, whether the subject is work with the right hand or left hand. That we have to observe. Then you should check mental state of the patient, whether the patient is conscious, whether the patient is semi-conscious or patient is unconscious. The level of consciousness is judged by the response to the pain stimuli. Various levels of the consciousness are: number one, somnolence is state of drowsiness but can arouse by various stimuli and then make appropriate motor and verbal responses. If patient is brought to your clinic, he is found to be sleeping, then you have to confirm his level of consciousness. If he is in the state of somnolence, which is the state of drowsiness, if you apply various stimuli, painful stimuli, then he will wake up and respond to your motor and verbal responses. Stupor, patient is aroused by painful and repeated stimulus and may respond for the short period of to simple commands. Sometimes it is observed patient is brought to your clinic by the relatives because patient is not completely conscious. Then after painful and repeated stimuli, just slightly he will respond and he will follow your simple commands. So these things are done to find out the level of consciousness. Semi-coma is a condition in which painful and repeated stimulus cause withdrawal or other adaptive movements. If the stimulus is removed, patient revert again to original state. He want to again sleep, don't want to wake up. It is called as semi-coma. Now coma is state from which the patient can't be aroused. And you remember that is the difference between coma and sleep. Sleep is a normal physiological function from which a person can be aroused by external stimulation. But coma is state from which a patient cannot be aroused by any of the external stimulation. Patient is deeply unconscious. There is either no response or only slight response to very painful stimuli. That is coma. So here you should examine and note down the level of consciousness of the patient. Then you should ask, patient should be asked for any history of hallucination or delusions of the illusions. Whether he feels something is there, but you observe there is nothing. Or whether he observes some of the things wrong. Suppose a relative is standing nearby and he is not able to identify that relative. Then look for the appearance, observe the posture. How is the posture of patient? Gait, how patient is walking. Hearing, whether he can hear. What kind of a clothes he wear. There's his hairs, then nails, then grooming, then sign of anxiety, like moistening hands, perspiring, forehead. All the things should be carefully observed in a patient. Patient should be asked for history of sleep, duration, whether the sleep is disturbed or undisturbed, nature of sleep. All these points are very much important and that should be noted. Then you can have a memory test of the patient. For test of memory, he should be asked simple questions of that day, last week, last month, last year, and then some years back. You can ask simple question about the same day. What happens in the morning? To whom you meet? What he was studying? What was the topic of discussion? Last week. What you was doing in the last week? Is there any special event occurs in the last week? Then last month, in the last month, whether you have visited any other city or not. Last year, what are the important events happens in the last year? Maybe happy moments or unhappy moments. Then some years back, then the patient can be asked about some questions about the last some years. You can also ask about the childhood, his date of birth, place of birth, in which school he has started learning, and who was his friend or list of the friends, what the friends are doing now, any event in the schools, what kind of a student he was. Patient may be asked to repeat the words he has been told. So here in the memory test, some words, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 10, 15, 20 words, which are asked to the patient to repeat. In Ayurvedic sciences, I have tried. In the first year students about the name of the Adhyay in the Vagbhat. Ayushkami Adhyay, Dinacharya Adhyay, Rutucharya Adhyay, then Roganutpadani Adhyay, Dravadravya Vijnani Adhyay. In this way, you should ask to repeat the words and take a note how much words he can repeat. And it is observed that maximum 16 words can be remembered at one time. But if he cannot remember more words, 4 to 5 words, then you should note that there is partially memories decreasing down or he cannot remember the things. In the higher functions, intelligence also can be assessed. Intelligence, in which Ayurveda it is called as the buddhi. Sarva Vivhar Hetur Jnanam Buddhi. Intelligent quotient is also called as Bauddhik Kshamata. And there is a method to calculate intelligent quotient. For this, there is a formula: mental age at present. That means how much he can answer. The number which you get, that should be divided by chronological age. Your chronological age starts from your date of birth. And so mental age divided by chronological age, and you have to multiply it by the 100, and can be generated. If you get intelligent quotient below 20, before that we should remember that this intelligent quotient should be minimum 70. Below 70, it is considered as mental retardation. Above 70, then it is physiological intelligent quotient. Now, if it is less than 70 and you have concluded that he has mental retardation, that may be of mild, moderate or severe type. If the IQ is below 20, then profound mental retardation. If it is 21 to 34, severe mental retardation. If 35 to 49, then moderate mental retardation. If it is 50 to 69, then it is mild mental retardation. These are the examples of lowered intelligent quotient. In pathological, your conclusion will be. Now, physiologically, minimum IQ should be 70. If IQ is 70 to 90, good intelligent. 90 to 120, better intelligent. 120 to 130, best. His intelligence is very nice. And above 131, it is genius. You will observe this in a scientist or some ways. And there is story of Kalam sir, who has got more than 131 IQ when casually he checked by his friend. So these are the higher functions in the nervous system. These higher functions should be assessed, should be checked for the conclusion about the pathological changes. Remember that tests are very simple thing. Though they are simple, they are not less important. They have much more important to find out the pathological change in the nervous system. To note where exactly the pathology is there in the nervous system. And if you remember nervous system, central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. In the central nervous system, there is a brain and spinal cord. Brain consists of the different areas. So, in which area of the brain pathological change is there? Or, as you have seen, upper motor neuron disease or a lower motor neuron disease. For conclusion regarding this, the test for the clinical examination of the nervous system are very much important. So it is right of the patient whenever he comes to your clinic, he should be get checked, examined properly, and that is the duty of a doctor. And I am sure whenever you complete your medical course, becomes completely intelligent doctor, open your clinic, and if the patient comes to you, you will use all these tests in your clinic for the proper arrivement at the proper diagnosis, after which you can go for the proper treatment. And for these things, I wish you best of luck. Thank you very much.